country. I think our Sadler said that hasn't happened before.
Or
Has
somebody
no one-
did. Somebody said, I don't know if it was Dr. Sadler, but somebody said that.
Dr. Saller said that no one usually kicks out the Red Cross because it's not a political group, it's
there to help.
humanitarian.
Yeah.
And it also makes them look bad on the international
Yeah.
scale.
Right.
Yeah.
So they try not to kick out the Red Cross, but some places will refuse service from them.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not
Yeah.
saying that they're kicking them out, it's just, we're not gonna take your services. Thank you, but
I
go
believe
away.
Rwanda actually kicked him out though.
I think what happened with Rwanda, like according to, I'm
Or,
sorry, I interrupted you, I
Darfur.
apologize.
No, it's Darfur, not
But
Rwanda.
In Rwanda, what's his name, Mr. Wilkins, who gave the speech the other
Carl
day.
Wilkins.
Carl Wilkins was an individual who gave a speech about his personal experience in Rwanda. But he testified to the fact that people who operated underneath the Red Cross banner or the Red Crescent, were killed in Rwanda just openly. But it was specifically in Darfur that they were kicked out as an
Yeah.
aid organization.
Yeah.
Other places they're just killed, but Darfur they were kicked out.
He said it really depended on the connections that you have with certain people in the country, and that's why he wasn't killed, and that's why he wasn't targeted, is because he had connections with the government and stuff, so.
He was friends with the local,
Yeah, and well, he was a native I mean, for years.
I don't want to open a can of worms, but I will. When we're talking about genocide, and we're thinking about like ways to prevent it and everything, a lot of these stages, classifying, symbolization, dehumanization, organization, pluralization, and preparation, it sounds a lot like what's going on in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
It does. So I just wanted to
But what is?
Could you
well,
specify that?
Let's-
Could you specify
Do you
that
want me to-
because that's kind of all.
I've barely
That's a
heard
volatile
anything about that actually.
Okay.
I just saw something on the news about
Alright.
politicians
This is
protesting
something
it
new.
because they
Okay.
thought that it was.
The new, there's a new law that's going into effect. It's a new bill, and everybody that is
In
not
Arizona.
in Arizona,
In Arizona.
which is in the United States.
Yeah.
It's all illegal immigrants that are not documented will be have to either be identified or they will be prosecuted and deported back to their own country.
Which, in other
And
words,
how is that
means-
how is that opposed to our current state?
Okay,
The-
what?
Because
what's going on?
wait.
And how is that unethical?
It's unethical because the officers,
it's
the
given the
law
police officers.
do not need a reason to pull you over. They can look at the color of your skin
Mhm.
and just pull you over.
And
What
say-
is the specific wording?
All it said,
Of the law.
what I saw on the news, all it said is if they have
'Cause I think
reason
that's
to
what we need to
believe.
look at.
All
Okay.
it is if they have reason to believe. So all you gotta do is look Mexican, basically. Or look Asian, or look or not,
Okay,
black,
whether-
or you know.
What
Go
the
ahead,
issue
Marissa.
is, whether or not, I don't know the specific wording, but whether or not they can pull you over by looks. If you are a legal immigrant, you have to always carry around your documentation so that you can prove you are a legal immigrant. And that means that you have to have more than just a driver's license. You have to have your green card or your immigration papers.
Or a birth
And that means
certificate.
if you're born in
Or
the
a birth
U.S.,
certificate.
you can also be targeted for this just as
Well-
easily as if you weren't.
Well, that's just easy. If you're in the military, all you have to do is carry around your military ID.
But
It's-
people in the
yeah, but
military
90%
sometimes are not
people are
naturalized
on the
citizens.
How is I
That's
would
the
like
only scary thing.
I mean, whether we're for this law or not, I want to know specifically for the purpose of this discussion and also
How
for
does it
the
relate to
video,
genocide?
how does it relate to the
Because it's
process of
separating them from
identification?
us.
The
for
way-
genocide?
It's classification and symbolization.
Yeah.
Legal immigrants have to have this documentation. That's simple.
It's going into
In a
the
way,
us.
that's the same thing as that Star of David that they made the Jews wear, making them have proof. I guess it's not the same as
Or
saying.
The ID cards
Yeah,
in
the
Rwanda
ID
where
Yeah.
it was crossed off. You were at the Carl Wilkins talk where it was crossed off. It said, and you were not killed or separated or taken out if you were one of those things, one of those groups. So I mean, we're not going to start killing people, hopefully, in the United States, but it is setting
setting
a
a
precedent.
I would argue that identifying illegal immigrants is not necessarily something that is wrong, because
It's the way.
let's look at the term illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
I think the problem that we're having
It's
is
the
the
people.
method of identification
Yeah.
That's
if it's
what-
racial
I agree.
profiling.
And that's what we're talking about.
Because that is that's a method of identifying a specific group
Classification.
through
that
that's
would be the
classification through like a
stage.
dehumanization through
Right.
racial profiling
Yeah.
because we have immigrants from Northern Ireland, from Russia, from Northern European, African.
I mean, we're
But
all
what they're
immigrants.
what that law is specifically geared towards
Separating us from
is Mexicans.
Right.
Is looking at It's not for illegal immigration, but mind you, that law wouldn't have had to have been passed if the federal government itself had followed the existing laws to begin with.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so they had to take it to the
That
state level.
doesn't mean their law is a good law, but it's also a result of poor federal execution.
Okay,
And we
How
won't argue
about-
that.
how about the KKK?
What about them?
How classification, symbolization, dehumanization, lynchings still take place.
Yeah, but those aren't necessarily legal.
Yeah, I
It doesn't
know,
mean
but
that we know that it's not legal, but it doesn't mean that it stops anyone.
Right.
in nowhere in the definition of genocide or in the 8 stages of genocide does it say that it has to be government sanctioned.
No.
Well, no, you're right, but
So
the
There's
mass.
different kinds of genocide too. There's democide, there's gendercide, which is usually on females. There's different classifications
all
of
genocide.
genocide, but it's
Yeah.
all it's a
You-
umbrella term.
You don't have to kill a group of people to call it genocide, but you do have to dehumanize them. You have to put them under, classify them,
If you destroyed all of the churches of like say the Catholics, all the churches, but didn't kill a single person, that would still, in a way, be considered genocide because you're destroying the culture of these people.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Like for
Even
example,
damaging the culture is genocide.
for
Yeah.
example, something that I learned today when I was doing some studying that we didn't talk about in class was it was called the Canadian Holocaust, and it's recognized in Canada as a lot of the Aborigine people were deliberately killed in schools and in
When was this?
in the 1920s, 1930s.
And I think it's
And
very
they were
important
sterilized, which
that
is
the
preventing
important thing
birth.
is that we identify the intent. Because like
The
I
intent
think one
was
of the
to get rid
things
of the natives.
one of the things that we did in our class was we asked, is this genocide or not? Because I think too often we need to be careful at what time we use that word, because the implications of that word and the gravity that are associated with that word is quite substantial.
Right.
So like I think the first question we need to ask, what was the intent? Does it meet these standards of what we have all agreed is genocide? I don't know, I just think that's an important thing to
Yeah, the one that I
within
learned
the
about
discussion
today.
to notice.
Yes, it does.
Because we're bringing up a bunch of examples of, oh, this is genocide, oh, this is genocide.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think it's just important for, whoever watches this, or to
Yeah.
understand that not everything is genocide, that the intent is extremely important.
Yeah.
And then the one problem is everything that he just said is very true, that you don't want to jump to this conclusion too soon because then you get people shying away from it and they're just like, the word has a lot of meanings and then it also has the implication that you should take action. But the problem with waiting too long is because if you wait till, numbers reach the hundreds of thousands of people's of death to call it genocide, then you're just letting this get to a bad point. You want to catch it before it gets to such a horrible point. So far, nobody's ever been successful with that, though.